Okay, so one of the biggest barriers that many disabled people face in getting to work is not having the right accommodations that they need to be able to do their job. And so here's an analogy for you. Now, can you imagine if those that need glasses, prescription glasses, was only available to the absolute rich? Or you had a 2-year waiting list to be able to get glasses. Now, I know that, glasses are still expensive. Not everyone will be able to get one straight away, but most people have access to glasses that they need. There's schemes like if you're on benefits, you can get like free eye tests, forgetting what it's called. But yeah, just imagine that was the case, that you couldn't have glasses for 2 years. How many of you would not be able to do your job if you didn't have your glasses? For example, many might not be able to commute to work anymore because they can't drive. That will also eliminate jobs involving driving, like courier services, or if you're a taxi driver. It could mean that you can't do your office job because you can't stare at your computer screen. You can't concentrate and actually read all like the numbers on and words on there. And so many other things. Operating machinery, it could become a serious safety issue if you didn't have your glasses. And it might be the case that you have to say to your boss, I'm sorry, but I can't have any glasses for 2 years. I'm going to have to leave my job. And this is what's happening for many disabled people in real life with other health conditions. Now, I'm not talking about a group of people who, despite, if they had every accommodation given possible, they still may not be able to work. So there is that group there. We can't forget that group exists. It's not a case that everyone is able to work. So I don't want you to forget about them. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just talking about those that can work if they are given the right accommodations. But unfortunately, going back to the glasses analogy, we've got a case now that there are people out there who just can't access what they need to do their job. It could be flexible hours. It could be working full-time at home. It could be having the right equipment set up in the office, or maybe even doing a little bit of a job swap. So like there's some tasks that you can't do that someone else does, and then you take on some of their tasks. And there's not enough employers out there willing to make enough changes. Yes, there's the Disability Act. That means that they have to give reasonable adjustments. But what counts as reasonable? And a lot of employers will make some changes. It still doesn't work. The employee needs more changes, and the employer's just like, oh, well, we've tried our best. That's it. So either, they're not going to hire you, or if you're already in that job, you end up going for capability meetings and then end up losing your job. And so it's all very well the government setting up these schemes to be like, let's get disabled people back into work. But you don't do that by just cutting benefits and forcing them, things like CV writing skills and what have you. You need to actually go to these employers and get them to make these changes to help them in work. And there's just not enough of that. And even then, I've spoken to so many different people over the last few weeks who have said that, and this is abled people who, especially with entry-level jobs, they a lot of these job vacancies easily have over 100 applicants per job. A lot of these people just don't even get to an interview stage, let alone any sort of job offer. And if you're disabled, what you can apply for becomes a lot smaller, and the chances of actually getting a job from that become a lot slimmer. And so, especially then if you're going to meet with an employer who will find a way to work around the Disability Act and just happen to hire someone else because it's much easier to deal with them. So that's the problem that needs to be tackled at source, because I can guarantee you most disabled people want to work, and by most I mean a lot of them. But we need to sort out these barriers first before anything else. And not to mention, very, very important, that PIP is not an out of work benefit. And in fact, a lot of people use PIP to be able to get to work. It might be things like having the Motability car, that if that was taken away from them, they may not then be able to commute to work. That's just one example. There are others that, what PIP is needed for to do with work. But yeah, it's just everything seems to be a more backwards thing, that they're like, oh, we've got an issue with how much we're spending in the country on disability, so let's just cut it and force people to do what they can't do. No, let's sort it out at the source, get people sorted. We need to concentrate on reducing waiting lists down to get people the help they need, and then it will reduce naturally things like the and by reduce I mean more like the disability side of things, for like universal credit, and stuff like that will come with it. But PIP may reduce as well, because if people are then being seen from the NHS, their health condition might improve, and so therefore they no longer need PIP. I don't want to go over too much of a tangent on that. My point was more about talking about barriers at work rather than to go into the whole PIP debate again. But it does keep coming up because this is what everyone keeps talking about, and they still have so many misconceptions around that, which I hope, that sort of cleared things up a little bit. But yeah, what do you think? If you wear glasses and that was taken away from you, could you still do what you do on a regular basis? Do you have issues getting back to work? What would help you actually do what you need to do? Let me know.